Jonathan, great to see you again. How great, another Oscars live programme, and now on ITVX as well, because there's an appetite there.
There's an appetite there for it, and it's exciting. Of course, you can't beat watching something like that live, because then you know all of it as it's happening, and the next day when everyone's talking about it, you're ahead of the game, you've got all the information, and you saw it with your own eyes, so it'll be, I think, a great fun show.
Last year it was Oppenheimer, it was Barbie, it kind of was a bit of there was a juggernaut rolling there. I don't think there is. I think this year could be really, really interesting.
But it's interesting in that last year we were celebrating like two really big, really popular, commercially successful films. This year the focus is on, you know, a variety of really interesting, intriguing, beautifully made, but very different movies. And a lot of people won't have seen them. So one of the things we're doing on the night now is we're preparing kind of like informative packages to show you about the film, tell you about the movie so that you'll have some idea, because a lot of people won't have seen many of these films. They might have seen a few, but they won't have seen all of them. But there are some great movies there in the list still, you know, and there are some like big, I mean, they're quite important milestones in cinema. The Brutalist, 3.5 hours long. I didn't think I'd ever see a kind of serious film that long released, and there it is. It's doing well. It's getting kind of plaudits. Some great performances in it. Really it didn't work for me quite as much as it did for other people, but I certainly enjoyed it, and I was pleased to see it. Then you've got Conclave, once again, a very kind of serious subject, quite sophisticated filmmaking, some incredible performances, looks gorgeous. If you haven't seen it yet, go and see it on the big screen if you can, because it looks sumptuous. And then we've got Emilia Perez, a very timely story, very interesting at the moment. A great director, an older French director, Jacques Audiard, who's back, making something very different, and a musical with a kind of some frankly bizarre songs on it, I've got to be honest with you. Wicked is, of course, the big commercial film this year that everyone's talking about. And once again, I suspect probably won't do that well come award nights, but I'm glad to see all those names up there because they're all tremendous performances. And it's a spectacle, and it's, I think, younger people in particular, it'll be one of those movies that they look back and say, I was there when it first came out.
It's interesting you talk about the two musicals there, but I think it's the first time in about 50 years that in the Best Actress category, two of the actresses are from musicals.
Yeah. What
should we read into that? Are we entering a new age, do you think?
I mean, I've always loved musicals.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Yeah. I've always loved musicals, and I love seeing them on the big screen as well. I think it is interesting that maybe we are moving back towards more kind of like that kind of big entertainment spectacle, you know, which is one of the ways they combat the kind of impact that streamers are having, or people watching it on smaller screens all the time. So to see a kind of a big musical, the numbers, where you can actually see it better than even you would have seen it if you'd seen Wicked on stage, which was a great experience, but to see it on the big screen, people who love that kind of thing, you really get a treat. So I think maybe we are looking forward to a period when more films come out that have to offer you something different, and they have to offer you something extra. And I think being in a cinema when there are those songs going on, it is actually kind of, in many ways, more exciting than just watching a drama, you know, which is a more intimate experience, which can be enjoyed in a similar way at home. So I suspect we will see more and more musicals, and long may they continue to come.
You know, I can remember a time when all the debate was about, you know, streaming versus cinemas. Like, you know, Steven Spielberg once said we shouldn't let streamers even go for an Oscar. Now that debate seems to have settled. You know, they're immersed in the cinema world. Yet I don't think Netflix has yet to win a Best Film Oscar.
Did Roma get one?
I think he won Best Director, but it didn't get Best Film.
Best Picture.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was odd that Spielberg said that. I can kind of understand where it was coming from.
Years ago, he said
that. Yeah, and I think he wouldn't say it now. And I think what's interesting about the streamers is that, you know, when they make a movie which has the potential to do well theatrically, they give it a theatrical release. So I think now it's being seen more, not that they're in competition, but more that this is it's a complementary way of funding movies. Because people often make a film for Netflix or for Amazon or someone, but they will often get a theatrical release out of it as well, and then it goes to its kind of rightful home afterwards. And it's quite interesting because, you know, I don't think the impact ever was going to be as tragic as perhaps he thought. You know, you look at, there was that debate came out when TV first came out, and people saying this is going to kill cinema, and of course it didn't. You know, and I don't think streamers will kill cinema. People aren't going to stop wanting to watch things at home. Given a choice, I'd rather probably watch things at home, but sometimes I will go out for that big screen experience, you know. And I think maybe it will benefit us in the long run, the audience, because there will be the movies that we really want to see that we have to see on the big screen, and they'll focus on them. And the things which are more intimate, which perhaps don't need that, we can watch at home. And most of us have a decent sized screen at home now as well. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm a lot older than you, but when I was a kid, we had a little black and white TV in the corner. Of course, you shouldn't watch movies on that, you know. But now everyone's got, you know, bigger screens and decent sound at home, so it is a comparable experience.
Now I know you're quite partial to a horror film. you know, the substance. I really do genuinely feel like, you know, the field is opening. And
Nina, being a man, when I watched The Substance, I thought it was just a documentary. Because I know women go through a lot to look good. I genuinely thought it was watching a documentary. I love The Substance. I love the film. It's great fun. And I hope Demi Moore gets the Oscar for it, because I think it's a stunning performance for her. It's a really important performance. It's a brave performance as well, of course, but it's a really, it's a moment where you can really see what she's capable of as an actor on screen, and a really powerful, powerful moment in the film. In fact, I think without that, and without her performance, the film would have been overlooked. It wouldn't have had the impact it had. I really don't think. I think Margaret Qualley's great in it as well. I think Dennis Quaid is fun in it, but I think it's her performance that really gives it an authentic and powerful heart. And I love the movie as well. It gets kind of silly towards the end, but I like silly, you know, Grand Guignol. And I love the fact that a horror film is being given a chance to stand up there. I mean, one of my favourite performances in recent years was Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary, which I thought was stunning. And because back then still the mindset was horror was kind of like not serious or not worthy of awards, it didn't get nominated. And she was robbed, I think, that year. That was an incredible performance, breathtaking. And so I hope, really, the one person I really, really want to see get an award that night is Demi Moore. I really want to see her get an award, which I think she deserves, not just for her career, but for that performance in particular. You
know, they've widened the membership of the Oscars voting. I think you can probably see it in the nominations. There's some really out there films up for contention this year.
Yeah.
If you look at the variety, it's unbelievable.
I'm glad they widened the base of people who can vote for it, because it was kind of a bit stodgy, I feel. And certainly we've seen kind of like livelier voting and films that might have been overlooked in previous years getting a nod now. So it's only for the best, I think. And my wife, by the way, is one of the voters. She votes for the Academy Awards. So I try my best to steer her in what I consider the correct direction, but you'll be pleased to know she ignores me.
Now, you, like me, will have seen most of the films. I mean, there's lots of films that aren't in the running at all, but I just wondered, you know, what anything in particular that you really love. So it'd be really interesting to hear from you.
Well, I mean, it's weird for me, because sometimes I see films way in advance.
Yeah.
So they're films that wouldn't be considered. I think it's a real shame that Robbie Williams isn't being acknowledged. His film, is it called A Better Man? I think it's called A Better Man. And I suspect I know the reason why is because Robbie Williams and Take That were never as big in the States, comparable to how they were here. So I think a lot of people might not have even seen it. Mm-hmm. And when you're voting for those awards, you only really vote on the films you've seen. They ask you to tick the films you've seen, and then you can vote for them. And I think a lot of people didn't see it. And I think that's an incredible film, really brave from him, really quite revolutionary in a way, and just a really powerful and impactful piece of work. So that's a shame, I think. But over and above that, I spend a lot of my time watching kind of like odd movies, weird movies. I've got a few that haven't come out yet that I can recommend for you that I love. And in a way, Nina, it doesn't matter to me whether those films win awards or not. I mean, I feel it's a shame, like we're talking about Toni Collette, I feel it's a shame when someone's delivered such a great performance. But at the same time, that film's still there. And I can still enjoy that film. And I can still recommend that film to people. I've never recommended a film to people saying you should watch this film because it won 3 Oscars. I have said you should watch this film because it's hilarious, or because it's so moving, or because it's so unexpected, or it's just like, you know, looks amazing. So even though I'm pleased when people are rewarded for their achievements, at the same time, it won't affect the quality or my relationship with that movie. Yeah. And it won't affect the fact that I want to share that love of that particular film with other people. So I like watching the Oscars as a spectacle. I like seeing all these incredible people dressed up to the nines. I like it when someone slaps someone. I enjoy that very much indeed. Let's hope we have that again this year. I know I speak for both of us.
I was there that year.
Were you?
Jaw drop, and just turning around and... Sorry, did that really happen?
Extraordinary.
That was extraordinary.
Yeah.
Where is Will Smith now, really?
Well, he's working on his slaps, I guess. I don't know.
It's absolutely... this year, given the terrible things that are happening in Los Angeles, you'll have friends out there who've been impacted. How do you put on the most glamorous event in the world when the backdrop is that? I
think, ultimately, it will probably make the event feel even more celebratory. I think it will be like... It's like when we all went through COVID together. And when we came out the side, I think we all appreciated things, initially at least, more. It's like, oh my God, I can go out and see other people. I can go to the cinema. I'm still working, I'm back at work. It was exciting because we'd all been through something together. And all those people who live and work there have been through something momentous and tragic together. Obviously, incredibly tragic for some. People lost their lives, but everyone else has lost something. And I think as a community, they will find strength from that, and it will be a joyful moment to say, you know what, we got through it. and we can rebuild, and we can keep doing what we love and what we want to do. And so I think obviously it will be mentioned on the night. It will be mentioned, I'm sure, in the opening. I'm sure it will be mentioned also by some of the people who collect awards. But I think it will be seen as we're in this together, and we're still lucky to be doing these jobs, and we're here. And isn't that great? So I think, if anything, it will actually kind of make it feel more special.
It's really hard for the organisers, isn't it? It's like damned if they do and damned if they don't. There's some people say tonally deaf, don't have it. But, you know, entertainment is LA's bread and butter.
They have to mention it, though. They have to mention it because, you know, I mean, the Hollywood sign almost burnt down. A more kind of like fitting kind of symbol for what they've all gone through than that. You know, the flames licking at the very sign itself. I think they will have to mention it, and but I hope it doesn't dominate the evening. And I don't mean that in a kind of casual disregard for what people went through, because the evening isn't about that. The evening is about the films that were made and the impact they had. But of course, the community itself and that industry itself is based there. So it would be strange if they tried not to mention it. I hope they'll mention it, they'll deal with it, they'll embrace it, and they'll move on. And I hope if other people feel they want to mention it, they're allowed to do so comfortably as well. You know, I never like it when they're too strict with what people shouldn't say. I think let people be themselves, and we can judge.
Yeah, it's going to be quite political, I reckon, when people, this is Trump's America, and, you know, if Carla Maria Gascon wins, you know, a transgender actress, if she was that, what is she going to say now that Trump says there's only two genders, you know, you're male or female, and that's it. I mean, you know, this film in particular, Emilia Perez, is going to be quite a controversial one on the night.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how people have voted for it on the night, and it'll be interesting to see how the reaction is if they win. But I suspect, interesting on the broader note of Trump, I think people are going to be less. I think it's going to be less likely that people make their politics known than previously, because the first tenure was seen as such an anomaly, such a blip. And now he's back, and we can see from the way all the kind of tech billionaires have gathered around him, and the media outlets have all said, okay, well, you know what, we're going to kind of suck up to this guy. You know, maybe that's too simple-minded a way of looking at it, but it does seem to me like there's a great degree of, oh, this is a new reality now. This is not a glitch. This is a new reality, and we have to make our place within it. So I suspect we're going to see less kind of outspoken Trump is a cartoon villain type thing, and more measured responses.
That's really interesting. I mean, but if Sebastian Stan gets Best Actor, who plays Trump in The Apprentice, that's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? It's
going to be interesting. He's not going to get it, but it would be interesting if he did. But it's interesting he's nominated even, you know. I suspect, once again, though, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think people's personal politics play into their voting quite as much. I think we're all capable of seeing film as what it is, which is almost without exception, but certainly the films we're talking about now, fiction. Even those that are based on real life, there's an element of fiction involved there, and it's like they're judging the performances on the quality of the performance, not on whether they like the people or dislike the people they're playing, and whether they agree with the politics or disagree with the politics. Hopefully not, anyway.
Adrian Brody or Ray Fiennes then, Jonathan?
For me, Ray Fiennes. I love Adrian Brody, but I think Ray Fiennes, of the two, and I kind of felt the same about both films. I enjoyed them, but neither of them excited me that much. I was excited by the idea of The Brutalist being that long and kind of like having that amount of space, but some of the film I found less satisfying. Conclave, I don't care who's the Pope, so frankly, the ending was a little bit of a down of me. I wasn't as engaged with the people, but I thought it was masterful storytelling, beautifully staged, looks incredible. The cinematographers are great, the costumes, the sets, and Ray Fiennes gives such a beautifully modulated performance that if I were voting, I would vote for Ray Fiennes.
Agree. That man's never won an Oscar.
He should have got one for Made in Manhattan.
Right.
I love Made in Manhattan.
Well, it's a kind of like a guilty secret, really, isn't it? You know,
Not
guilty
for me.
drunk. No.
I'm loud and proud about rom-coms. J-Lo and Ray Fiennes in Manhattan, one of the greatest films ever made. 27 Dresses, love it. Julie and Julia, all over that, love it.
Okay, The Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez. Choosing a best film this year, I mean, what do you think?
None of them, as films, are films which I would go out and say to people, you have to see this film. None of them excited me that much, to be honest with you. The Substance did. The Substance is the one I like the most. But of those three, I would probably go, I think the safest bet is, I think either Conclave or Brutalist will get it, and I think it'll be Conclave.
Oh, that'd be great. I'm rooting for the Conclave. And wouldn't it be great if Coralie Fajar wins Best Director as the only woman nominated for The Substance? You know, yet again, here we have a year when there is, you know, only one woman nominated. That becomes another narrative.
It would be great, but I don't think she will, because even though I loved the movie, I thought For me personally, structurally, it was a bit of a mess. The pacing was a bit off. The ending went on for too long. Aspects of the performance and the script sometimes struck me as a little gamey. But overall, I loved the movie, and I'm glad. I mean, it's one of my favourite films of the last year, but that says more about the state of films as I relate to them than the film itself. But I very much doubt you'll get it, because I think it is a bit, the ending, which is so grand guignol and so kind of like gross out body horror at the end, I think that will turn off certainly a lot of the older voters. So I'd be surprised if that gets it. And even though at its heart, it's a very serious message, and it's a very interesting and compelling and very timely story, at the same time, because it's in a kind of like very heightened form of storytelling, quite exaggerated and quite kind of extreme in a way, I think a lot of people would not necessarily go for that kind of movie and feel safer voting for something which is clearly just serious filmmaking. Conclave or Brutalist. I think they'll see those two as being very straightforward choices.
I totally agree with you. How do you stay awake then? What's your
What, generally?
staying awake?
I mean,
just on this particular night.
Nina, are you trying to imply I've got a guilty conscience? Oh no, that would be how do you sleep?
Yeah.
How do I stay awake? You know what? I am quite elderly, but it's not that hard to start till 3. And it's like I'll probably have a bit more time in bed during the daytime. Maybe won't take the dogs for as long a walk as usual. But no, it's not that bad, because you're there in the studio with people, and it's a live event. You do a lot of live TV, of course, more than me. And so, you know, you're getting people talking in your ear, you've got changes. When we did it last year, it started about 20 minutes late, so we had to fill for 20 minutes, and then we were playing catch up. So there's a lot going on. And so it's not like one of those shows where you can doze off. And I hope I'm speaking for people watching at home as well as me.
Well, clearly people want to stay up and watch all night, and it's great that it's, you know, now on a, you know, ITV, and that people can watch it. You don't have to subscribe, you just watch it.
It's ITV, it's free to watch.
Yeah.
We're giving you more red carpet coverage this year. We're showing all the red carpet live as well before the show on ITV, and there'll be kind of clip packages about all these movies, so you can feel that you know what's being talked about, even if you hadn't had the chance to see them yet. So I think it'll be hopefully a fun evening. We've got some great guests lined up. I'm not allowed to say who yet. We've got an audience there now this time as well, a bit of an audience to watch it with us. So I'm hoping it'll be a really fun night's entertainment. And as always, you know, it's not my show. People aren't watching it because of me. People aren't watching it because of the audience, the people I've got with me. We're all there to watch the Oscars. I'm watching it along with everyone else. The Oscars is the focus, and it is the greatest showbiz event of the year.
Have you ever made it into the Vanity Fair party?
No, but I've never wanted to.
Okay.
I don't want to go to parties.
People gate crash it, you know.
Yeah,
take their Oscars from 3 years ago.
Nina, I don't even want to go to my own parties. Okay. I just want to be on my bed with my dogs. That's what I want to be. Matter of fact, I'm quite angry that you're making me sit here now.
Sorry.
I'm going straight home after this, and I'm going to put pyjamas on, and I'm going to have a dog on my lap, and one sits on my head. Well, not on my head, behind my head.
Well, Jonathan, thank you very much for sparing a bit of time.
Nina, it's lovely to see you. Yeah. Valuable bedtime.
Thank you.
My pleasure.